I'm Scott Vanderplu, and you're listening to the AE Index Podcast, episode 98.
I went down to the St. James Infirmary, found my baby there, stretched out on a long white table, so sweet, so cold, so fast.
Welcome back to All Things AE, where we discuss the typed, written, word processed word at aeindex.org and bring it to audio with all my extra thoughts and not for publication interpretations of what has happened in the month. The big news, of course, is the wrap up of the 2024 AE Index Dunbier Awards. And the winners were announced today on February 1st. I'm always recording the podcast on the first day of the new month, covering the previous month. The way I do voting on the website, you can always click see results, so you can play along at the home game, and you can always see who the current winner is. If you were following the voting this month, it's a landslide. I mean, there's no question. Let me just jump right to the chase, and the winner of every category of the 2024 AE Index Dunbier Awards was David Mazzucchelli's Batman Year 1 Artist Edition. Let me go through the categories that won and how much it won by. Best overall, 61% of the vote. Best design, Chip Kidd designer, 55% of the vote. Best reproduction, 55% of the vote. Favorite material, 56% of the vote. Most purchased, just it had the most number of units purchased, and IDW was the best publisher. So, pretty well, as I say, a landslide. And just very exciting for the team of Scott Dunbier, Chip Kidd, David Mazzucchelli, and IDW. I'm making a correction on the website because I foolishly did something. It's only on the read-through that you notice mistakes. It's terrible. And I can't help but notice mistakes, while I'm recording the podcast. This is a doubly bad, I'd have to say. But it is what it is. What are you going to do? All right. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the voting for the rest, you go back to the awards. All the links are there. So go to index.org. You'll see the category. And number 2 in every category, Brian Boland, Batman, The Killing Joke, and Other Stories, and Art Gallery Edition. They're a bridesmaid to Year 1's bride, unfortunately. And then it goes down. I mean, you don't want to disparage those that did not win, for sure. And I really, Boland, Batman, The Killing Joke had a really strong showing at second place, but it just could not overtake. Dave Mazzucchelli's Batman Year 1 Artist Edition was, of course, my choice for the year. I don't vote in that. I mean, here I am. But it was clearly my winner. If you read the reviews I've done this year, landslide. I loved it. Best thing ever. There's, it's sliced bread trails far behind it. Yeah, go on and check it out. There was some talk of, having a master vote option. Like if you just you want the same book to win every category, you just click this thing. I really don't want to do that. I want people to go through and click categories. Unfortunately, it doesn't matter what I put as the first voting item, it always gets the most votes. And it doesn't seem to matter how I promote this, how it's promoted. I can't seem to get my voting numbers, I really want to see them increased. I don't understand how I can get less votes for this entire month's voting than I do for individual hits on the site in one day. I can get way more hits in a day than I do voters on this the whole month. I believe it's because people don't own all the books, therefore they feel they can't vote, and that's I've said that before. If you have not purchased all the books, then please go over my reviews and make an informed choice. But so best reproduction was the first vote I put up here, and it got the most. It got the most number of voters, and then it's just. Interestingly, after that, it's about the same number of votes, but most people I don't know why more people vote for the first category than any other. So I think I'm really going to have to just accept that's the way it is and put, best overall as the first voting from now 2025 is going to be the 10th anniversary of these awards. I mentioned this in the last month's podcast, but these started on the Marvel Masterworks forum, which is now hosted at Tapatalk. And the first year it was done to just, it encompassed all AE format books that had been published to that point. I took over the year after that on the site and just focused on what happened in the last year. And that's the format I've kept until that now. And that's the format I'm going to keep. But I say 2025 will have big changes. There's going to be some other categories. I'm going to eliminate some categories. I did add some major rules this year in that books only available via pre-purchase are not eligible. So that includes crowdfunded books or books only available for pre-order from specific websites. So my examples for that was the Extremity Signature Edition was a crowdfunded book. I definitely would have had that in here, but because not everybody had the chance to buy it, I don't include it. As well, the David Wright's Carol Day books, they're only available for pre-order. So you pre-order them from one website, and then they print to that number of pre-orders. So again, a book not generally available to the public, I don't and will not be including in these awards. As well, any book that is mostly reprint will not be included. So that's like Jim Lee, DC Legends Artist Edition. That's just a renaming of the Artifact Edition, no new material. And the Best of DC War Artist Edition came out this year. It had new pages, but again, a very small amount versus the total number of pages in the book. So that was also excluded. So there are exclusions. It's not just, willy-nilly anything is included. There are things that define what's going to be included in the awards. As well, the other change I made this year, I've been debating about renaming the awards, but I'm not sure. So basically what I did is it was the Scott Dunbier Awards. Then it was the Dunbier Awards. I dropped the Scott part. It's just easier. And then this year I just added, because it is hosted on my site, I added AE Index. So it's the AE Index Dunbier Awards. So I think that's what I'm going to be going with in the future. And like I said, 2025, look for that stuff. Good things happening coming forward. Least number of votes, I don't know, is that worth mentioning? Sure. I mean, I don't know why, but some things like got one vote. Pretty Deadly, the Shrike Vault Edition, really did not get many votes at all. I got 0 votes for overall. The other categories, it got 1 vote. And then, 1 vote. So I think one person really liked that book and came and voted, and that was it. Bill Ward, the Fantagraphics Studio Edition, also did not do well. It should have done better in the design category, because I thought it had a really interesting design. All right, that's it. Purchases is always interesting, in that who actually, how many were purchased of things. Again, if you look at the lowest number of purchases of the 9 books was Pretty Deadly, followed by the Bill Ward book, so it correlates. Did you buy it? Did you vote for it? Right? All right. That's that. Shipping changes this month. Quite a few shipping changes. So Button Man by Arthur Ranson, Apex Edition, moved to February 19th. That's disappointing. As well, I'm sure everybody in the comic world has heard about Diamond Distributors Chapter 11 bankruptcy issues, and it's becoming a double-edged sword because it doesn't matter if they get the money to continue on. If publishers won't ship them books, then they can't continue on in business if you can't ship anything. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there. The only books that aren't the only AE format books that are not distributed by other distributors at this point are 2080 Apex editions. The Image stuff is all distributed by Simon & Schuster now. IDW is distributed by PRH. I'm looking at the list of upcoming books. With that Massive Entertainment, the Zorro book that I'll be discussing shortly, that's distributed by Simon & Schuster. The Graffiti Designs books are distributed by Lunar as well. So there are, the publishers that we see are distributed by other distributors, just not 2080. Now, 2080 is, all their other books are carried by other distributors. I think it's Simon & Schuster. But for some reason, they don't distribute the Apex editions that way. So I'm hoping that is a change that's going to occur. Because speaking as a Canadian retailer, I want to pay in Canadian, especially with the other topic that is looming all over the place is tariffs. So I'd like to purchase Canadian, through Canadian distributors. So hopefully 2080 makes that change, and there'll be no interruption in the flow of AE format books into specialty stores. All right. Wow, that was I deviated greatly there. Other shipping changes. Marvel Covers Artist Edition, the 2025 reprint, moved to March 11th. David Mazzucchelli's Daredevil Born Again Artist Edition, 2025 reprint, moved to March 11th. That doesn't feel right. DC Covers Volume 1 Artist Edition moved to July 8th. Neil Adams DC Classics Artist Edition moved to July 8th. There's already a book on July 8th, Jack Kirby Forever People Artist Edition, 2025 reprint. Something else again. So pile up of books on March 3rd, pile up of books on July 8th. Those don't feel like real dates. So that feels like a problem. As well, the Youngblood Vault Edition book has got some Diamond's listing one date, and then Simon & Schuster's listing a later date. So I'm concerned with that as well. It's the same with Zorro Man of the Dead. Diamond has an early date versus Simon & Schuster's later date, so we'll have to see what happens. All right, I keep talking about these books, but let's go to new releases for the month. 2 new releases this month. I immediately reviewed one, and the other one is languishing on my bookshelf, and I feel bad. But let me talk about the 2 releases. First new release. This was January 8th. That was Comics 1964 to 2024. This was a exhibit in France. And I'm forgetting where it was exhibited. Oh, man, that's annoying. But this book came out, and it is awesome. It is a collection of mostly European comic original art pages with some Japanese pages and some Korean pages and some U.S. pages. This was previously released in French and in English as a soft cover. The soft cover was English with soft cover. That was from Thames and Hudson, England. I ordered that book through Amazon. Got it damaged. Amazon said I could keep it. I stuck it on the shelf. And then the Thames and Hudson US released this book in hardcover. For those, I have not got to the review, and I apologize. But for those wondering, it is exactly the same book. There is absolutely no difference other than softcover versus hardcover. Everything else is the same. So whatever edition you can get, you should pick it up. I'm not going to give you the blurb because I do plan on reviewing this in February. But man, I got a real stockpile of books from Europe this month, and I feel like I'm really behind. I'm sort of doing reviews every week again. Still, I've taken a few days off, but this, because I was doing the podcast and the Dunbury Awards, I didn't want to get into that. So the other release this month was Paul Smith's The Uncanny X-Men Artist Edition. The review's later on today that we'll be discussing. This is how, distracted I am. I spoke about the winners, but what I did not speak about was the all-important Hall of Fame inductees. So last year I started the Hall of Fame, the Dunbury Awards Hall of Fame, and that was one person and one book. This year, same thing. I've got one book and one person. So I do the book first, and then I do the person. So this year, my book, and again, let me give you this. This is what I say about the inductees. These are creators and titles that have shaped the AE format and serve as a benchmark of what is possible. This isn't about the story or the artist. It's how the book progressed the AE format. This year, my choice was Alien, the illustrated story, the original art edition. And you can go and read my little blurb there, but this was, until this point, we had seen books from IDW. And we'd had some exciting books. We had the regular editions. We had special editions, with a signature page, with a slipcase. We had, maybe an introduction, like Sergio Aragona's book. So there were 8 AE format books from IDW, and then Alien Illustrated Story came out in October 2012. I don't know at what point they started to work on this. Maybe the year before, when there had been 2 AE format books released, right? Rocketeer and The Mighty Thor. Or maybe a few more. Maybe they had something else in their back pocket. But Titan had the license to reissue these books. Previously, that they had appeared in Heavy Metal. The story. Alien Illustrated story. And they did a nice graphic novel of it. Color, you know. And then they released this book, the original art edition. And I feel, because these are my these are my nominations, only I'm picking, I feel that this book advanced the AE format. Some standout features. I'm going to start with the price, $75. It was available mass market, no signature page, special diamond edition signature page, same price, $75. So this is already $25 or more less than what IDW was charging at the time. Okay? And again, we got a signature page. So, I mean, IDW was not releasing anything with a signature page at that price point, or even at the $100 price point, right? You had to pay a lot more for a signature page. Then we had Archie Goodwin's complete script included. Now, not full page, but still, nicely to see the whole script. Then we had an interview with Walter Simonson and John Workman. Workman was the letterer. Was Workman the letterer or the colorist? Oh, boy. Bad. One of the two. Here I am blabbering on, but I don't remember. And then there's an afterword by Simonson. The art was not lettered, so they added the lettering digitally. As well, they recreated paste-ups, if paste-ups were missing. So, it's interesting. They said, and it's interesting in the introduction, because it says the focus is on the art, not the board. And I thought that's an interesting take. Because sometimes they crop the board, they did whatever just to show the art. They didn't feel the need to show the entire artboard, you know, and that's one of the things we do like. But I see that a lot, the same as the Carol Day books, right? Where we get the art, we get the margins, maybe we lose something on the margin, but it's not that important. Anyway, the point is this book was a complete package. Wasn't just art, wasn't just a signature, wasn't just any of these elements. They brought it all together and they produced something that really stood out. That really said, this is what could be done. And I really have to say that we don't see this kind of complete package still today. We see it in French volumes. I see this constantly in, say, the Dupuis Artistes Editions, where they present more than right. There's background material, there's interviews, there's limited edition feel to it, right? The numbered or it's signed or a combination of the two. It was just an immensely powerful package that I don't think was. I think it got largely ignored at the time, or what it brought forth was not appreciated enough to see that in other books and formats. All right, then our person of the Hall inductee was Randall Dahlk, or Randy Dahlk. I always thought Randy because his original website was called Retro Randy. But when he's credited in any of the books, it's Randall. So I went with Randall. He did the design with the editorial team. Dave Stevens Rocketeer, right there, that first artist edition in 2010. And he did the design on 2 books in 2024 that were part of the nominations. John Romita's The Amazing Spider-Man Daily Strips Artist Edition and Chris Somney's Black Widow Artist Edition. Still working today. 2010 to 2024, and we'll see him on books in 2025. So still in there, still defining. He's taking risks. He's made some choices that aren't always popular. But he's designed more AE format books than anybody else. And he's established the look of what we think of as a North American AE format book. And for that alone, plus all his other accomplishments, he deserves this Hall of Fame induction, yes. All right. Sorry I missed that as part of the awards. Okay. Let's talk solicitations. 2 solicitations from the Slingsby Brothers, Inc. One was immediately for sale, and then one is the future. So, 2 books. Let me just... I don't know. I'm not sure if I should even go into this because David writes Carol Day Showcase. Collectors often ask what makes the Carol Day comic strip, an obscure and seldom seen strip from the United Kingdom, so special to a small group of fanatics. For most fans, the art is the hook, and most collectors instantly recognize that this art and this artist are levels above what we usually encounter in a comic strip. This quickly leads people to want to learn and see more. For Carol Day, this has been very difficult historically, as the strip hasn't been significantly reprinted and it never achieved wide circulation in newspapers. This book presents, for the first time, the full range of Carol Day art, from Wright's first story to his last, with examples from every story. We've gathered 136 outstanding Carol Day examples from across Wright's run to display. All are reproduced from the original art to present the flavor of the strip and the magnitude of Wright's achievement. If you're still not sold that you want this on your shelf, we'll have copies at OAX, so drop by our booth, check it out, and chat with team members Chris Kalaki and Guy Mills. I'm guessing OAX is Original Art Expo, but it's one of those, let's be elitist and keep an acronym. I mean, you know, there's no limit to the number of words you can use on the internet. Don't just use, industry speak like that. All right. This was published as a trade paperback. It's it's 11 by 8.5 inches. This is probably more accurate because it's landscape. It's printed on acid-free paper, 80 pages. It was $25, $5 U.S. shipping, or $20 out of U.S. shipping. It was only available through eBay, and it sold out. I ordered a second day. eBay says 51 copies sold. I'm really surprised there was only 50 copies available for sale. It just seems so strange. Also, it was disheartening to learn that shipping was $20 for the world. Canada is a little closer than Europe or Asia to the United States. I think our shipping could have been a little cheaper. But anyway. Oh, this showed up already. I got this yesterday. I flipped through it. Looks good. Nice to see. I'll review it. But that's the first. That was a solicitation and an immediate offer for sale. And now sold out. So that was a whole lot of activity between January 18th and now. All right, then we had a new solicitation. That was David Wright's Carol Day, Last of the Line. Following Riverside Racket, our second Carol Day storybook will be Last of the Line, the 13th story, which ran in 1960. Last of the Line will be the same format as Riverside Racket, our first storybook. It will contain the complete story reproduced in the original art in the original size, continuing our founding principle. In addition, we will provide a brief introduction. We plan to release Last of the Line in Q2 2025. Pre-orders end on March 16th, at which time we will set the print run and go to print, hoping to print in Q2. So this is printed on acid-free paper, exclusively available through Book Palace. It's 56 pages. It's quarter bound with a cloth spine, large format to match the original artwork. And, it contains a foreword and the story. It's 149 pounds, 56 pages. Now, I'm just going to pause there for a moment because I feel like the email I got from Slingsby Brothers said it was 64 pages. So the initial solicitation came up and appeared on Book Palace. So this means I've got to make a correction here. And it said 56 pages, and now it says 64 pages in both places. So interesting. Thanks, people. I'm editing that now to 64 pages, and that actually for 140. So that means our average cost of pound per page will drop slightly for this softcover. It's still exorbitant, ridiculous, and vastly overpriced. Let me just not pull any punches on this book, but I will still buy it because I love David Wright's Carol Day so much. As well, they've announced the Carol Day to store and display the storybooks. We've designed a slipcase that will fit all 3 storybooks. Slipcase will match the Lance Hallam and Jack Slingsby books on your shelf. Brian Bullen has designed another wonderful Carol Day cover for the front of the slipcase. The slipcase will also be available in Q2. So no pricing on the slipcase. I'm guessing, overpriced like the rest of the stuff from Slingsby Bro Inc. Let's see. All right, that's that. Interesting stuff. Yeah, interesting. So, all right, let's talk out of print sales. Let's just go over the highlights, shall we? You know what I've got to add on here? The Carol Day books. All right. What's the big bumps this year? Alien the Illustrated Story. Original Art Edition. Hall of Fame inductee. 1 copy sold $247. So that's jumped up in price. Basil Wolverton's Weird Worlds has 1 copy, $225. 2 copies of Batman The Dark Knight Returns for $145 average. 1 copy of Best of EC Comics Volume 1 for $199.99. One copy of Chris Somney's Daredevil for $200. Interesting. One copy of David Stevens' Rocketeer Artist Edition, first print, $52.75. Wow. One copy of Don Rose's The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, Volume 1, $157.50. One copy of Hal Foster's Prince Valiant, $202. One copy of Jaime Hernandez Fantagraphics Edition, $200. One copy of Frank Cho's Savage Wolverine for $199.99. What are the other standouts? Gil Kane's Amazing Spider-Man, 2 copies selling for an average of $66.91. Wow. 3 copies of Herb Trimpe's The Incredible Hulk, averaging $71.99. Oh, wow. Jack Kirby Pencil and Ink's Artisan Edition. I finally added this to the list this month, $79. That's the normal cover. I'm not adding the Kirby Museum one. That's because it's not the standard cover. Jeff Smith's Bone, The Great Cow Race, 2 copies sold at averaging $83.28. One copy of Joe Kubert Enemy Ace for $189.95. I think that's a high for that one. One copy of Joe Kubert's Tarzan of the Apes, $50. That's a must-have book, really. One copy of The Return of Tarzan for $134.69. 2 copies of Joe Kubert's Tarzan and the Lion Man, averaging $200. There's a book also that does not come up a lot, and that's normally that kind of money. John Byrne's Fantastic Four Artist Edition, 2 copies sold an average of $280. Surprising. John Byrne's X-Men Artifact Edition, though, 1 copy, $69. I guess because there's an artist edition now that you can pay more money for with a different title on the cover, but everything else the same. Ooh. 1 copy of John Romita's Amazing Spider-Man Artist Edition for $170. 1 copy of Volume 2 for $73.69. 3 copies of Mad Artist Editions averaging $134.33. That's a bit of a price drop there, too. Mark Schultz's Xenozoic Tales, 2 copies averaging $248.25. That's staying up there, that book. 2 copies of Mike Mignola's Hellboy and Hell and Other Stories, first print, averaging $357.17. That's another high. Wow. Scrolling. Skipping, 2 copies of Sergio Aragona's Gru the Wanderer, averaging $208.06. 1 copy of Spawn Vault Edition for $323. 1 copy of Spawn Vault Edition 2 for $165.50. Star Wars Artifact Edition, 2 copies, $99. Dark Times, $45. Wow. Terry Moore's Strangers of Paradise. This thing, very few sales come up for this. 1 copy, $149.99. Wally Wood's EC Stories, first print, $225. Walter Simonson's Mighty Thor Artist Edition, first printing, 2 copies, averaging $187.49. 1 copy, Will Eisner's A Contract with God, $399.99. Oof. Man, if you see that in a store for cover, just pick it up and put it on eBay. 2 copies of Will Eisner's The Spirit, averaging $129. 2 copies of The Spirit, Volume 2, averaging $120. Let's look at price record setters this month. Oops, there aren't any. So, not the greatest month for artist editions on eBay, I guess. Interesting. All right, somehow I skipped the Diamond February 2025 catalog because I am all over the place this episode, so please excuse that. 1 book solicited through Diamond, Zorro, Man of the Dead Artist Edition. Massive Select presents the Zorro, Man of the Dead Artist Edition. This is a beautiful 11x17 hardcover. Collects Volume 1 of Sean Murphy's re-imaging of the Masked Vigilante in a stunning black and white format at the original art size. This 104-page oversized artist edition is limited to 1,000 copies. Interesting. It's from Massive. It's being released, I don't know, in April. I'm seeing April and May. 104 pages, $175 US. I pulled this cover image from the Kickstarter because they haven't released a cover image for it. I ran it through Upscaler because it was really small, and Upscaler's done some mysterious things to it. Did upscale though. I got this original art. I don't know. It's not. I don't know. I don't think it's original art. They've applied the lettering digitally. And the pages actually look different even than what I've got in Zorro d'Entre les Morts Edition Pulps, which is that smaller format book that I got from France and reviewed last year. So you can check out the review there. I'm speculative on how much of this is showing original, the actual art pages. So I've actually made the decision not to buy a copy and review it because I don't think it's falling into enough of the original art format for me. And I feel like I got burned a bunch of times in 2024. I've like I said, I've got the smaller format. I'm leaving this one. Okay. I'm down to my 3 reviews for this month. This is the point at Dieter's Dance Party where we dance. And how can you support the site? How can you support me? 3 ways. I've got to do the infomercial right now. First way, use any of my affiliate links on the site. Most links are an affiliate link to me where I get a percentage back. Things from Another World is my biggest percentage back. I think it's like 12%. It's pretty great. Unfortunately, Things from Another World affiliate program is closing April 1st, so you'll see Things from Another World links dropping off in April from the site. But until then, please continue to order through those links. They're a great way. Amazon links are good. eBay links are amazing. Second way to support the site, become a Patreon patron. So you can up to $1 a month, whatever, up to whatever amount you'd like. I mean, if you'd like to fund me $100 a month, that'd be amazing. $1 million. Or your local currency. That's also works great. And that, or there's a, there's a button at the bottom of my site that says donate via PayPal. So you can do that as well. That's nice. And the last way is to buy something from my store, aeindex.org/store. I have books available for there. The Extremity Signature Edition, I still have one copy available for sale of that. I've got Best VC Volume 1. Got Bone. Got a bunch of stuff. The longer it sits there, I just keep lowering the prices. So please buy something from the store. Not only does that help support me, and the money goes immediately, the whole of the money goes immediately in my pocket, except for 4%. PayPal takes 4% for me to process the transaction. But also it gets these books off my floor. I got to move more of these books. Okay. That's it. What do I use the money for? Just go to the site and you figure it out instantly. Books, more books. So many books. Oh my goodness. I got 3 books in January. I bought 3 books from Italy, Lo Scarabeo. Those are awesome. And I got 7 books from France. It was a big month. I guess the news that we're all still waiting for most of us are waiting for our Clone and Colossal editions from Zoop and Pug W. I no longer can blame Zoop for this. I think it all rests with Pug W and just doing a fantastically bad job with keeping fundraisers or supporters updated, books shipped. I backed it a year ago, which was foolish of me. I could have just waited and bought it at a discount on cheap graphic novels, because if you're in California, you already got your books. You've already sold out of your books. You've got reorders on your books, and you sold those out. But if you're a campaign supporter, you're still waiting. So, yes, I'm bitter. Bitter. We'll see how it goes when I get my 5 copies to sell on my store, if anybody actually still needs any, or they just bought them all from online retailers. All right, 3 reviews this month. First review up, Paul Smith's The Uncanny X-Men Artist Edition. Oh, this is just nostalgia central for me. Right in that nostalgia sweet spot. I was buying Paul Smith's X-Men off the stand in the early 80s, and I loved it. It's interesting to go back and look at the art. It's not quite as I remember it, but Paul Smith's characters are not overly muscular. They're very long, right? And I remember the face and things being a little better than how it's drawn here. Interesting how, right? Your memory is often much. It's the opening line of the movie Great Expectations, not the book. I'm not going to tell you how it happened. I'm going to tell you how I remember it. Isn't that so true? Anyways, Paul Smith's artwork, amazing. I wish we had complete issues here, but there's not a complete issue to be found. Let's go through what is here, though. Some amazing stuff. I'm not going to give you the blurb because I'm deep into the podcast here, and I got reviews to cover. But amazing stuff. We go right from we got something from every issue he did of X-Men, 165 to 175, and then we've got stuff from his Marvel Fanfare. Then we've got X-Men Alpha Flight 1 and 2, a lot of pages from there. Then we just jump. We jump a decade or more than a decade, and we get to X-Men Unlimited, where his style is really interesting. It's the script is by the guy who wrote Lone Wolf and Cub, and then Smith's doing the art, and he's very inky heavy on the art. It really looks good. And then we go X-Men First Class, and it's the inking is completely different, and it's just a thin line on the pencil, and then we get a cover, and that's the collection. It's quite a book. We also get an introduction by Louise Simonson, who was the editor at the time, and I really like her introduction because it really plays to the artist and the circumstances at the time. And it's not just, about what the person thought of that creator at the time. This is actually some real background that we get. Gorgeous design here overall by Shaban Krasescu. I really like the color play here and everything that's done. The dark colors are good. The blue's awesome. That orangey color from the cover just carries through. Interesting. I hadn't seen this before. End papers are actually, the end papers move from the front to the back. It's one long panel that's cut over the two end papers. I think it's really smart. Artwork presents very well. Like I said, it's just disappointing that there's nothing complete here. Would have been so great to have a complete story in this book. Let's hope that Paul Smith's work continues on with Act 4 and Scott Dunbier, and we actually get to see the Doctor Strange and the other books, Leave It to Chance, that were planned. Next review this month, David Wright's Carol Day, Riverside Racket. So this is the first two, basically, the first hardcover was like 150 pages. So we're dropping in pages as these books released, but we're increasing in cost per page. So this is interesting. It's I'm not going to give you the blurb again. Go to the site, read it, or watch my flip through. Or there's so many ways to experience this material through the AE Index. So this is a 175 copy print run. It was 144 pounds, 56 pages, and it's 19 and a quarter by 14 and a quarter. And it presents the full number of strips to this story called Riverside Racket. I mean, David Wright, this artwork is stunning. I can't get over how gorgeous. There's 89 strips in here, and it is so gorgeous. David Wright is amazing. And it needs to be appreciated at this size, the full size. Gorgeous. The design work in this book, I love. Pages, you got page numbers on the bottom. Got the name of the book. Tells you what episode it is. I.e. strip, numbers. Gives you the date. Just there's so much information going on the page. And then there's the full original artwork. There's no superfluous stuff on this. There's no analysis. There's no representing the pages, but as smaller artboards. They've dropped that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, the price just keeps going up. I don't want to take away from this book because it's amazing, but unfortunately, when you look at these books, there's two things that hit you immediately. One, David Wright's artwork, stunning. Two, the price is cringeworthy. So I'll give you an example. Lance Hallam, the first book they released, was 299 pounds, 152 pages. So that's right, 152 pages. And that works out to £1.97. I think is it cents? I don't know. 1.97 pounds per page. I'm just going to put it that. 1.97. Jack Slingsby, the second book they released, the page count dropped to 116. They didn't have as much of an analysis of the work this time. They dropped the extra, just some of the extras were superfluous to the full extent. Those were dropped. But unfortunately, the price per page went up to $2.15. Then they said, because we want to make a more cost-effective book, right? So they went from hardcover to softcover, this flexi bound, I'm sorry. Dropped a whole lot of stuff. Now we just get, we get very little in the way of editorial, which is fine. We get the full story though. Now we're 56 pages and we're at 257 per page, pounds. So I can't help but notice, they're printing 3 stories as these flexi-bound, more cost-effective books. And here's the quote from the solicitation. Not all Carol Day stories justify an expensive art book presentation, but we strongly believe that whenever possible, readers should view Carol Day reproduced in original art and in the same size. So that's awesome. But now they've gone up to 257 per page. If they're going to print 3 stories in a flexi-bound, they could have taken the 3 stories, put them in one hardcover. Could they have not produced that for £300 and then actually given us what the first book gave us, which was about 150, 160 pages for £300, saving us about £150 by the time we're done? I would like to save that. Plus, I'm paying shipping from England on every copy because it's only available from England. Are all the purchases, I'd love to know of the 175 copies, how many were shipped to North America? Because had they done anything about North American Distribution Week, I would have liked to save money. I mean, I saved the shipping on this book because my copy came damaged and they shipped it to the wrong address. So I got my shipping refunded. Wasn't thrilled with that either. But wow, I've just gone on and on about the negatives there. And the book is stunning, really. A Carol Day page now, one strip is going for, I don't know, I just saw some, their Heritage had some at auction, $4,500 of strip. I mean, I can't afford those. Back in the day, I could buy newspaper strips. And now I can't afford any original art, right? So this is the best I can get. I'm getting a full story. It's still relatively inexpensive. Yes, more expensive compared to, say, any other AE format book out there. But, man alive, it's gorgeous. And then we move to whole different word. And that is Spirou et Fantasio, Le Mémoire du Futur, Cahier 2. So that is the Spirou and Fantasio, right? And this is a cahier or notebook format. This is really interesting. So get like everything. You hear what I'm talking about here. If you haven't read the article, go to aindex.org, read the article. This is 8.5 inches by 12 inches. It's 64 pages. The soft cover. The cover actually comes right off, like a notebook. It's so interesting. And this presents the second half of this volume of Spirou and Fantasio, Le Mémoire du Futur. Pencils on the left, inks on the right. And this is 25 euros. The interesting thing was Cahier 1, or the first book, was released in January of 2024. I missed it. It was 15 euros and you got the first half of the book. So 1 to 27, and here we get 28 to 56. I did manage to, I tracked the copy down of Cahier 1 for 50 euros. So quite a jump from the cover price, but I felt well worth it. That's one of the things that just arrived at the end of January. One of my 7 from France there. I'm very excited to own these. Now I'm stunned and blown away by this aspect of doing something like this, where we've got, I love Olivier Schwartz. That's the artist. I love this guy. I love the work that he does. I'm trying to get everything he's done where I can see his original art. And it's so great to see. So he does his pencils. They're fairly detailed. And then he also does the lettering on the pencils. And then he inks. So I think he's doing, I don't know if he's scanning. I think they're scans of the pencils. Then I think he inks on the pencil boards. I don't think he's light boxing, and then just because of the way the pages are moving, how you can compare one to the other, I don't know. Hard to tell. I think if he was, I don't think so. But it's amazing, and to see the changes he does. There's a character in here that he's got basically dressed like Marilyn Monroe, and then it's in the inks though. I guess they made the decision to have her as a robot, so it's a giant robot now as opposed to like a giant just woman dressed in the 50s like Marilyn Monroe. So it's so interesting to take a look at this and see this is something being done in France for original art at an amazing price point. What is the print run on this is, I want to say 2,000. I think I mentioned in the article, but I can't quite remember. And why aren't we doing this for North American work? Like, take an example that was it just not sell? Is that the issue? Like that Daniel Warren Johnson book, The Extremity, right? I mean, we've got, here's an artist. Well, we may not have the lettering. I get that. But if we have an artist who's penciling and inking, couldn't we not do a format book like this? Can we not get pencils and inks? Can we not compare like this? I understand. Like they released it in 2 albums, which I find interesting. I would have preferred it as one. I would have liked to pay, 45 euros or whatever, 50 euros, and gotten this as one book. It's folded, stapled. The paper's nice quality, and it really presents well. But not only do you get to experience what this is, but I as I say, I can't help but imagine taking this format and applying it to other artists. Just amazing. All right, that's it for me rambling this month. So many great things. Please go to the site, aindex.org, check out the reviews, check out the articles, follow along, sign up for the newsletter, and you will never miss a thing, because every Saturday a newsletter goes out once a week, and it lists every article I published. So you will not miss out on a single thing. As well, there is my YouTube channel. Right now it's just flip throughs, the podcast. I've done some interviews. I babble on about this every podcast, but I do plan to do video reviews. I've actually done a couple. I haven't been thrilled with how it's gone. I'm still using I've got my, my table set up, got the camera. I felt the audio in my recording wasn't very good. I'm doing the top down, sort of that cartoonist kayfabe style. And I'm going to add an introduction by me talking to the camera. So I've got a webcam for that. And then I've got the top down with my phone for the reviews. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for joining me, and we will talk again next month.
Let her go, God bless her. Wherever she may be, she can search this wide world over. She'll never find a sweet man like me.